Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm starting another reading vlog. So I originally planned to film this just because I needed a video to go up next week and I really had no idea what I wanted to post. So I thought, I'll just film a reading vlog. Those are always fun. I really enjoy making them and y'all seem to like them as well. And then I remembered that Amanda from Book Lover Amanda and several other lovely ladies are co-hosting the Southern Charm readathon. So I thought, well, that's perfect. I'll just combine the readathon with a reading vlog and we'll have ourselves a little Southern Charm readathon vlog. I did already pick out the book that I'm planning to read in this vlog, or at least one of them, and that is Between the Sound and Sea by Amanda Cox. I picked this up, I want to say a couple months ago at a used bookstore, and I've been holding on to it because, as you can see by the cover, it's very, well, in my opinion, it's very summery looking. There's a lighthouse and seashells and seaweed and stuff like that, and just by the title you can tell it's going to be set on the coast. And I do like to read seasonally, so I wanted to save this for closer to the summertime, and it's getting to be summer here where I live. It's still the middle of May, but it's getting warm out there. So yeah, we're feeling the summer vibes, and I think this is the perfect book for this time. And I have actually never read anything by Amanda Cox. I know she's super popular. She has that book, He Should Have Told the Bees, that I've seen lots of Christian booktubers talk about, and I have been interested in her work. I just have never got around to reading it, but we're gonna change that today. I do have my bookmark and tabs already in here, but those were just in there so they'd be with the book. I haven't actually started this, and I don't know exactly what it's about. I kind of skimmed the back. I don't like to read the back of books because it can be very spoilery, but from what I understand, it's about this girl who gets involved in some sort of family trouble, and she starts living in a lighthouse on a North Carolina island, and I live in North Carolina in case you didn't know. And while she's there, she finds these strange notes, secret notes, in the lighthouse, which I believe has been closed for a while. And the notes have all these secrets about the town and the people in it, so it's one of those small town mystery stories that I really like. I think this might also be a dual POV or dual timeline novel because it mentions World War II on the back. I'm not a huge fan of World War II fiction, but we will see how this goes. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to starting this and trying out Amanda Cox's writing, and this should also fill a couple of prompts in the Southern Charm readathon. I do have my reading journal right here. So I think it's going to fulfill the Well I Declare prompt, which is a mystery thriller or book with twists. It just sounds like because of the secret notes, there's going to be some twists going on. So we'll see about that. There's also a prompt for more than one POV. That's the Well Look Who It Is prompt. And then we have the Home is Where the Heart Is prompt, a book set in a small town or has strong family values. Most of the North Carolina coastal towns, I think this is set in a fake town, but most of the real towns, which this is based off of, I'm sure, are very small, so we should have the small town setting. And of course, it is set in North Carolina, which is the South, so the Y'all Come Back Now prompt will also be fulfilled. Very exciting. I love filling in all the prompts on a bingo board when I can. So what I'm going to do now is go into my living room and sit and read for a while. I probably won't actually talk while I'm in there because my living room has vaulted ceilings and it's very echoey and just not the best for filming. So I'll read for a bit and then come update y'all when I have something to say. Okay guys, I am back for a little update. I just read about 50 pages of Between the Sound and Sea. I am on chapter 6 and I am really enjoying it so far. The first thing I want to say is that Amanda Cox's writing is really good. It flows super well, very fast paced, descriptive, just sounds very natural. I'm really enjoying it and I see why she is such a popular author. As you can see, I've got a few little tabs here. That is just because the story is interesting, but it's a little bit complicated, so I wanted to make sure I didn't leave out any details. So basically we do have kind of a dual timeline going on here, but it's not true dual timeline, it's more like flashbacks. And the flashbacks are back in 1940 when you have this guy named Callum McCorvey and his daughter Kathleen living in Bleak Point Lighthouse, which is on a North Carolina island in the Outer Banks. And one day, Kathleen goes out in the middle of the night and saves this guy whose boat overturned near the lighthouse. She drags him to shore, but then she tries to hide the fact that she saves him, and that's the end of that story until we move forward a bit to 2007, and we have another character in this timeline. His name is Walt, and he is 81 years old, and as it turns out, he's the guy that Kathleen saved all those years ago. And what's really weird is shortly after Walt was saved, Kathleen and her father disappeared from the lighthouse with no trace. And since she saved Walt's life, he's kind of been obsessed with their disappearance for all this time. And now he's used all of his retirement money to buy the lighthouse that they used to live in. It's been decommissioned since then, and apparently no one has been in it or really done anything with it. So Walt has purchased this lighthouse, apparently looking for clues as to what's going on, but he needs help keeping it up. So for that, he enlists his grandson Finn's help, and they also need a project manager, so they hire this girl named Josephina, who goes by Joey. And she's actually an event planner from Tennessee, but her event planning business is not going well, so she kind of wants a fresh start, and she ends up moving out there to help with the lighthouse. So that is what's going on. Very interesting story so far. I really can't imagine why Kathleen and her father just disappeared off the face of the earth. I also don't get why she wanted to hide the fact that she saved Walt. Seems very weird, but I'm sure we're gonna get some answers here soon. Oh, and there's also kind of a third mystery going on because Joey's brother, whose name is Trey, he is estranged from the family for some reason. He's been estranged from them for 3 years. It doesn't say exactly why, but I think it might be to do with the family business because their dad did run a construction company, and from what I understand, Trey was expected to take it over, but he chose to do something else with his life, and they describe him as a prodigal son, so maybe he didn't make the best choices. I don't know. But that is where I'm at so far. I'm really glad I picked this for this vlog. I think it's going to be a super fun read, but I'm going to put that down for right now because I actually want to go bake some zucchini bread. And while I do that, I'm going to listen to my audiobook that I've been listening to lately, which is Death on a Summer's Day by Benedict Brown. This is book 3 or 4, I can't remember right now, in the Lord Edgington Investigate series, which I have been loving this year. I've been reading these or listening to them since January. They are really good. This is a grandfather and grandson investigating team from the 1920s in England. It's very cozy, very fun, very whimsical. I will say though that this one, Death on a Summer's Day, is so far my least favorite out of the ones I've read. I don't know what it is exactly. Well, for one, the whole plot with the murder is kind of convoluted and I'm struggling to keep the characters right, and it's just not as engaging as the other books in the series. I'm still liking it. It's sitting around a 3.5 for me right now, maybe 3.75. I'm gonna finish it and hopefully the next 2 books will be better again. But yeah, I'm gonna listen to my audiobook and do some baking, and then I will probably read some more later tonight. So I will see y'all then. Alright y'all, I just read another 50 pages or so in Between the Sound and Sea, and I have a lot to talk about. In fact, I've made some little notes here. The first thing I want to talk about is the Outer Banks setting, and I have been to the Outer Banks several times, so I'll put some videos or pictures or something up on the screen so y'all can get a feel for the area, because I think that the setting is really important in this novel. First of all, that's where the name of the book comes from, because the Outer Banks are a strip of barrier islands in between the Sound and the sea, so that's really important, of course. And then the Outer Banks itself is very remote, very sparsely populated, and it's the perfect setting for this type of book that has a mystery element, especially because Joey and Finn and Walt, they're all there. Well, Walt lives there, but Joey and Finn are there during the off-season when it's very sparsely populated, and the island where the lighthouse is actually located has no one living on it, which is pretty cool. A little creepy, but pretty cool. I also think the Outer Banks and the people who live there are really well represented in this book. The descriptions are spot on. I love hearing about all the beautiful nature. There's a good bit of history in here too, so all the bases are covered. I already mentioned that Walt is Finn's grandpa, and I really like their grandpa-grandson relationship. I think it's super cute, especially because Finn is, I'm assuming he's around Joey's age, and Joey is 26, so he's old enough to kind of take care of his grandpa, and it's really cute to hear him worrying about his grandpa and wanting to be there for him. It's really adorable. I also like Joey as a main character. She's very relatable because she is kind of not sure what she's doing with her life, and she's more so existing rather than living. And her best friend, Sophia, actually pointed this out to her when they were on the phone, and Sophia actually asked Joey, how many things in your life are placeholders holding space until whatever it is you're waiting for arrives? And Joey says she doesn't know what Sophie is talking about, to which Sophie says, you orchestrate these elaborate parties for people and make their dreams come true. You're on the edges, invisibly averting disasters your clients never even know about. Always at a party without ever being at the party. Am I explaining it any better now? So I just like that she pointed that out to Joey, because I think a lot of people who are in their 20s kind of struggle with knowing their path in life and what they're supposed to do. So I just felt that was really relatable. We also got a little update on the mystery, which I'm really into this mystery. I just am so curious about what happened. So as I said earlier, the two people, Callum and his daughter Kathleen, went missing mysteriously. And earlier it said they vanished without a trace, but it's been revealed that Callum's body did end up washing up on shore several days after the initial disappearance. And Kathleen was the one who was never found. And I don't know about y'all, but when I read a mystery novel and it says someone was never found, I'm always like, well, they're not dead. There's no way they're dead. So I'm gonna assume Kathleen is not dead, although I have no idea where she would be or why she would have left. Plus she'd be really old around this time, around Walt's age, I guess, so in her 80s. So that's basically all my thoughts for right now. I have added some more tabs to this book, and I'm loving how the tab colors match the cover perfectly. I didn't plan that, I just happened to have those tabs and it worked out really well. So that is Between the Sound and Sea. I also wanted to talk a bit more about my Lord Edgington novel because I realized I barely said anything about it earlier. So basically, Lord Edgington and his grandson Christopher get invited to this little summer party with a bunch of Lord Edgington's former friends. He hasn't seen them for like 5 decades, but they're all getting back together again. And when they get there, it's revealed that they used to have another girl who was in their group that they hung out with. Her name was Morwenna, and she died in a house fire 50 years ago. And supposedly it was an accident, but Lord Edgington has always thought that she was purposefully murdered. He was never able to prove that, but now that they're all back together, he's trying to prove it, and while he's in the middle of doing that, another murder happens. So it's kind of like a double murder investigation. So the story itself is interesting. I don't know who done it. I have some theories, but it is a really well-written mystery where you can't really guess what's happening. I think the seclusion of the book is what's bugging me, and the very limited cast of characters, because obviously they're all in that location and it's very remote out in the country, and that's the only people that's there. So unless some random person has been hiding in the basement or something committing these crimes, then one of the 5 or 6 people that's there is the murderer. And I guess just the lack of diversity in the cast of characters is what's making me not as interested in this book. But I'm still enjoying it. Like I said, it's like a 3.5. The narration in the audiobook is great. I really like that. And Chrissy is super funny. I love him. He's hilarious. I have about an hour left in that audiobook, so I'll probably finish it tomorrow. As for tonight, I'm gonna read a bit more of this before bed and I will update y'all tomorrow. So bye for tonight. Hi guys, and welcome back to the vlog. It is the next day now and it's actually about 6 p.m. I haven't had a chance to read or update y'all at all today, but I'm winding down for the night, and as you can see, I just took a shower. I'm actually doing the curly girl method on my hair, which, in case you're not familiar, is just this way to bring out your natural wave / curl pattern. I've never tried this before, but I'm trying to embrace my natural wavy hair. It's quite the transition and process. I'm not sure if I'm doing it 100% right, but here we are. So this is how it's looking right now. I decided to sit outside so it can air dry a bit. It's pretty nice outside. It's like 75 degrees, kind of cloudy. And while I wait for my hair to dry, I'm gonna read some more of Between the Sound and Sea. I got to page 117 last night, which is chapter 17. And this book is really picking up. I'm enjoying it so much so far. The chapters are quite short. They're usually about 3 or 4 pages a piece, so it reads very fast, which I think is great for a mystery novel. And we finally got to those mysterious notes that are mentioned on the back of the book. It took about 100 pages of the book to actually get to the notes, but I have really enjoyed reading those. They are super fascinating and add a lot to the story. Plus, I just like epistolary elements in general. But yeah, I'm gonna dive in and do some more reading. I'm hoping to get a little bit over halfway through this book tonight. I'd like to finish it tomorrow because I have other stuff I need to do this week, but we shall see. Okay guys, I have made it to page 153 and I'm just enjoying this book so much. I know I said it in yesterday's vlog sometime, but Amanda Cox is such a great writer, and as a writer myself, this is the type of writing that I aspire to, where it's just so clear and descriptive and you feel like you're there in the story and you just don't want to put the book down. I really love it, and I already know I'm going to be checking out more of her books later. But as for this specific story, I wanted to mention that we're finally getting some romance in here. This is not specifically labeled as a romance, but I just always expect there to be romance in Christian fiction pretty much, especially in a book like this where there's a single guy and a single girl around the same age who are basically stuck together while they work on this project. The romance is definitely a secondary plot though, and it's a slow burn romance, which I personally prefer. So I'm enjoying that and I'm interested to see where it goes. The only other thing I wanted to mention in this book, since it is technically Christian fiction, it's published by Revell. I wanted to say that there has been some light faith content, mostly just prayers, which is fine with me. I just wanted to throw that out there. So now I think I'm gonna go inside, make a snack, and then read a little bit more. Okay, so I'm on page 208. Let's talk about my hair before we talk about the book. It did okay. This is only my second week doing the curly girl method, so I don't expect perfection, but it's interesting. I've got this little like 1920s kind of wave going on at the top there. I do think the back looks better than the front, so I'll put a little clip of how the back of my hair looks in right now, just in case anyone is interested in how this is working for me. I know I showed the Curly Girl Method book in one of my little free library hauls, so yeah. Okay, now about Between the Sound and Sea. As I said, I'm on page 208. That's the start of chapter 32. I don't have a ton to update y'all on. I'm just really enjoying this. The mystery is unraveling at a really good pace. It's not one of those books where every single clue is a dead end or a red herring. They're actually making progress and it's really fun. I also want to mention that Finn's character is really developing as the story goes on. Joey is our main character, and we occasionally get chapters from Walt's point of view, but I don't think we've had one from Finn's point of view yet. So he's been kind of an enigma throughout the whole book, and he's dropped some sort of cryptic hints that he has like a dark past and secrets. Those are slowly being unraveled, and the author is doing such a great job keeping your interest and helping you understand everything he's been through. I really like him as a character. So that is going to be it for tonight. I will update you guys tomorrow sometime. Hello my friends, and welcome to day 3 of this vlog. It is again pretty late in the day. I think it's like 4:30 or something, and I'm just now having time to update y'all. I want to talk about both books that I'm reading in this reading vlog, but while I talk, I'm going to be packing up these clothes and things into this suitcase because I'm leaving in 2 days for a 10-day trip, and I have not packed anything at all. So I really need to multitask and get some stuff done. So let's get into it. I probably should have organized this stuff a little bit before I sat down, but again, have not had time for that. Okay, so first I want to say that I did finish Death on a Summer's Day, which was the Lord Edgington book by Benedict Brown that I mentioned, the audiobook I was listening to. And I don't have a ton more to say about it than I already said. I ended up giving that book 3.5 stars, which is really low for me for a Lord Edgington book. I've read 4 other books in the Lord Edgington series, and they've all been at least 4 stars. I think one was a 4-star and the rest were 4.5. So 3.5 is pretty low. And the reason I gave it a lower rating was basically all the stuff I said before. I didn't like the really small cast of characters. I thought the plot was pretty convoluted, and I don't know, it just didn't have as much charm as the other books in the series did. I do want to say though that the audiobooks for the series are so good. The guy that does them, I think his name is George Blagden. He is amazing. He's got to be the best audiobook narrator I've ever listened to. So that is a bonus for the book. And then also Christopher, the main character in this book, he is so funny. I just love his personality. And then Christopher, who is 16, he gets his first girlfriend in this book, and it was just so adorable and precious. I thought it was really cute, and that was just a fun little addition to the story. Not something I expected, but I'm pretty happy about it. That is about all I have to say for Death on a Summer's Day. If you like cozy mysteries, I do really recommend the series. And honestly, it's not the type of series where you have to read in order to know what happens. You might get some mild spoilers for previous books if you skip stuff, but I've been skipping around in the series as I find them, and I'm fine so far. I don't feel like I'm really missing anything, and I'm still enjoying all the books. So if you want to read some cozy mysteries, I recommend the Lord Edgington series by Benedict Brown. And now we can update on Between the Sound and Sea. I do have that book right here, and as you can see, I'm almost done. So the bookmark is where I actually am in the book. I'm on page 286, which is the start of chapter 45. And then I have the tabs back here where the notes begin. And I also learned that at the very end of the book, there's the first chapter of He Should Have Told the Bees, which I mentioned previously is that really popular book by Amanda Cox that everyone is always talking about. So I might read that, but I have, I think like 25 pages. Yeah, I have exactly 25 pages of this book left. So I will definitely finish that tonight. But before I finish it, I have a few more things I want to say. The first is that I don't think I've mentioned it all so far, but Amanda Cox is actually a pretty funny writer. I have several little tabs in this book for things that made me laugh or smile. And I did not expect there to be humor in this book. I don't know, I guess just because it's a more serious mystery, it's a missing person mystery. It's kind of dark and you don't expect a lot of humor in there, but the humor is really well done and it really lightens up the story. I already kind of touched on this as well, but the character development in this book is so good. These characters are probably the most realistic I've ever read about, and I think especially in Christian fiction sometimes, the characters can be very perfect. So it's nice to see Christian fiction characters that are very flawed and super relatable. Speaking of relatability, I actually tabbed another section in this book about Joey because I find her so relatable. I mean, it's literally like I'm reading about myself, and I wanted to read y'all the part that I tabbed. So I read you that part earlier in the story where Joey's best friend Sophie was kind of getting on to her because she's always planning other people's lives and not really living her own. And as it turns out, Joey is really into plans of all types, and she always wants there to be a plan for everything. And Finn kind of gets on to her for that. I don't know if gets on to her is the right phrase, but he says the following thing to her. I'm all for making plans, but sometimes I think we, I at least, use plans as a wall to keep myself safe. I don't have to worry about taking a chance on what's right in front of me because my eyes are on the safe route I've already charted. And I just really felt that because I am a planner. All my friends watching this, anyone that knows me in real life, I am a serious planner. I plan everything and I plan it down to like the minute if I can. I've always been that way. It just gives me a lot of comfort to plan things and I like knowing what's gonna happen. I'm a very shy and introverted person, so I think that is one reason I try to plan things because I don't want to be in a situation where I'm uncomfortable. But reading what Finn said right there, it just really made me think about how, yeah, I don't take chances as much as I could or probably should. And I just really was struck by that. And it also reminded me that I'm really into planning my own life. And sometimes instead of trusting God's will for my life, I always have this idea in my head of how things should be. And if it doesn't go that way, I get very upset. So this was a really good reminder that what you are planning isn't always the best course, and ultimately you should trust God because He is in control. So I like that. And then later on, Joey calls Sophie again, and they're basically talking about the same thing. And Sophie says, "Don't miss out on what might be a great thing just because you don't have everything cataloged and accounted for in that binder you wag around." Because Joey has a binder that she carries everywhere with all of her notes and plans in it. And again, that's such a great reminder that you don't have to plan everything and you never know what might happen if you take a chance on stuff and be a little spontaneous. And again, rely on God to take care of your life for you. Don't always just assume you have to do all the work. I really liked reading about that in this book. It was a really nice overarching theme. I liked how it continued throughout the story. So that is about everything I have to say about Between the Sound and Sea. I am going to finish that tonight, but let me get this last shirt into my suitcase. Well, I have this stuff here. I'm not sure if I'm going to take this yet. I'm still debating. I'm a chronic overpacker, so I'm trying to not majorly overpack on this trip. Haha. Okay, I know I'm bringing this stuff, so now that it is in my suitcase, I want to pick out the books I'm going to bring on this trip. I don't think I said, but it's a 10-day trip. And I'm going with my family, and I know I'm going to be spending a lot of time with them. We're going to Maine, by the way. I don't think I said. But we're going to Maine, and I know I'm going to be with my family. We're going to do a lot of hiking, and we have different activities planned. So I don't think I'm going to have a ton of free time, because normally in 10 days, I would read 3 or 4 books if I was just at home reading on my own schedule. But on vacation, I actually tend to read less. So I'm going to bring a couple books. Only 2, I think, and if I really want to, I can read on my Kindle app while I'm out of town, so I'll be fine. But I want to pick out the books to bring with me, so I'm going to take y'all off the big tripod and we'll take a look at my bookshelf. Okay guys, so here is my bookshelf, and everything on the very top right here, along with these 2 shelves, is my TBR/reread shelf. So I can essentially choose any of these books to take with me on vacation. Let's start right at the top. I'm not going to bring Gentle and Lowly because I only want to bring novel type books on this vacation. Next we have 2 Mark Twains and then this middle grade book that I honestly don't know a lot about, along with an Agatha Christie. I'm thinking about the Agatha Christie because I feel like those are good, easy kind of palate cleanser reads for me. I might take that. On the first shelf here, I thought about bringing Eleanor since I'm going to be in a coastal area, but I want to save that for June actually because it fits the one-word title prompt from Jane Reads' reading challenge, and I have very few one-word title books, so I think I'm going to keep that for June. I also thought about bringing Ladies of the Lake, but I have another trip in July that I need books for, and I think that might work better in July. And then moving down the line, okay, some of y'all might notice I have 2 copies of The Wild Robot. I have this one and then the one right behind it. I bought the hard copy one from my local used bookstore for $8, which I thought was a pretty good deal at the time. And then a few days later, I went to a thrift store and found this paperback copy, which I prefer paperbacks, for 99 cents. So now I have 2 copies of this. I haven't read it yet, but once I read it, I will get rid of the second copy. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to take that on the vacation either, because I've heard it's kind of sad, and I don't want any really sad books. Next up, we have the Mitford books. I'm not really feeling those. A couple more middle grade things that I'm not really into that either. Down here on this shelf, We have a lot of classics. I do have 2 of these Sinclair's mystery books, but again, middle grade, I'm not really super into that. So I guess it's going to be something from up here. I'm going to be vlogging or attempting to film a reading vlog while I'm on vacation. So I want to pick books that y'all would like to see me read. And I'm starting to rethink my decision about Ladies of the Lake because I have this book, Bookshop by the Sea, and that is set in a North Carolina coastal town, which is where I'll be in July. So this would probably be the best book to take on my July trip, and maybe I will take this to Maine. Never read this book, never read this author before, but I am very interested in this. And you know what? In Maine, I'll be pretty close to Prince Edward Island, closer than I would be at home. So maybe I'll take this after all. And then I think I'm going to take the Agatha Christie as well. This will probably be a good way to pass the time on the plane, and I really like this cover. All right, so there are my vacation book choices. Okay, now that we have picked our books, I'm going to go finish reading this, and then I will be back for my final update of this video. Guys, I just finished Between the Sound and Sea, and wow, this is such a good book. I really enjoyed this. I cannot believe it took me this long to read an Amanda Cox book. So I think I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. I liked just about everything about it. The only small issue I had was that, well, first of all, I reserve 5 stars for books that basically changed my life, and I know I'm going to reread a million times. I really enjoyed this. I don't know if it changed my life though. And the only small thing I didn't like about it was that she occasionally tries to write out people's accents like phonetically with the spelling, and I do not like when authors do that. I don't know if anyone else is like this, but it kind of drives me crazy when they write out every single drop G or whatever the accent has. If you have ever read Love Comes Softly by Jeanette Oke, in that book, the 2 characters have very thick accents, 2 main characters, and she writes out everything they say phonetically, and it drove me crazy to read that for an entire book. Thankfully, in this book, it wasn't that bad. It was basically just one character that she wrote out the accent for, but I just personally don't care for that. Still, this book was so good. It wrapped up so nicely at the end, and that's something I really noticed throughout the book was the pacing and the way things were revealed and things were coming together was very steady, and there was no point where I was thinking, oh, this book is getting boring or this is a little too long. There was nothing in here that shouldn't have been. There's no superfluous content, which I think you can kind of tell as well because this book is only, the actual book itself is only 311 pages, which is pretty short. Most Christian fiction books I feel like are around 350 pages, but this one is the perfect length. You definitely don't need any extra content in here. The other thing I really liked in this book was the mystery. This was such a well-crafted mystery. I don't read a ton of mysteries except for cozy mysteries, and I feel like those don't really count because they're meant to be kind of simple, fun reads. This mystery was much more complex, and I thought it was so well done. There were no red herrings or kind of superfluous twists to it. It was straightforward, but still complex, but you could still follow it, and I was really interested the whole time. It was great. I'm really impressed. I don't know what else to say. I am going to try and get my hands on another Amanda Cox book soon. I just don't know which one to go for, so if you have a recommendation for which of her books you think I should read next, please let me know. My first instinct is to go with He Should Have Told the Bees, because there is an excerpt from that excerpt? Is that the right word? There's a small portion of He Should Have Told the Bees in this book, plus I've heard the most people talk about that book, but I checked at my library and the only other Amanda Cox book they have is The Secret Keepers of Old Depot Grocery, I think it's called. It has kind of a weird name. So I'll probably go for that next time I go to the library, unless I can find one of her books in a thrift store or something while I'm on vacation. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. Just really like the book. Highly recommend it. This is not set during the summer, by the way. It's set in October through February, I think. so it's an off-season read, but I think it would still make a good, fun summer read. So yeah, that is gonna be it for this vlog, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed, and as always, thank you for supporting my channel. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!